All right, what's going on, everybody? Excited for today's conversation. We're going to talk sales, marketing, trends. We're going to talk AI. Obviously, if you follow my content, I can't shut up about it because of the impact that I see it having across the revenue organization. And today's guest is one of the only, Mike, you might be the only person I know that went from CMO to CEO of the same company. And so Mike Begg, he is a co-founder, CMO to CEO of AMZ Advisors. AMZ Advisors is a full-service e-com and digital marketing consultancy, extensive experience in creating high-growth strategies for brands and manufacturers. And so this guy's in the trenches. He sees it from both the go-to-market strategy all the way through product and everything else that they do. So I thought, Mike would be a great guest to talk about trends and AI in sales and marketing today. So Mike, thanks for joining me.
Hey, was that you or me?
What's up? What do you mean?
I don't know. You just started cutting out there.
No, I just introduced you. Did you hear that?
I heard like 90% of it and then it cut out.
Oh, I don't know. Well, basically just start from, I literally just said this guy, blah, 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 blah. And then I said, Mike, thank you for joining me. So we'll pick it up there. I'll say, Mike, thank you for joining me. And then you can
Okay.
All right, ready?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right, Mike, thank you for joining me.
Hey, Jake, thank you for having me here. I appreciate the time, and I'm excited to talk about, AI and marketing and, everything that I've been working on.
Cool. Well, let's just jump right into it, man. What have you been working on? When you think about 2023 and things that you've been doing for your business, it's impacting you as a consulting firm and, on the sales side, it's just been critical. I mean, the speed that it allows us to operate at and to produce high quality outputs for teams has been remarkable. For you, like, what are the big advancements you're excited about? And then, how have you helped to kind of revolutionize, your own company and your own work, using AI?
Yeah. So just kind of taking like a little bit of a broader approach here. Like you mentioned in the introduction, I went from CMO to CEO. Marketing is what I understand really well, and I understand the value in having a consistent inbound lead system. So from the day one that we started this company, we focused on producing content, and the content we focused on was more SEO related to begin with. And that crushed it. We generate over 60,000 unique visitors to the website every month, generates a ton of leads for us. And what we've seen specifically on the outbound side over the past year has been that outbound has gotten way more difficult from all of our cold efforts, from cold calling, cold email, SMS. Pretty much everything has, I don't want to say died, but the performance has dropped way off. So we've started looking at what are the ways that we can start producing more content to drive more inbound. And I think that's really where the AI aspects come in extremely helpful, in that we can generate different ideas, we can generate different topics, we can generate different ways to create content, all of it be super valuable, and then just have our graphic designers or our social media coordinators just pull everything into the format that we need for whatever platform we're trying to post on. So the real benefit for us with AI over the past year and going forward is going to be just the volume of content that we're going to be able to produce with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of organizations, again, and if you're a copywriter, don't fret. If like your skill is that, it doesn't mean that you're going to be 100% replaced, but it does mean that the ability to get started. And that's how I look at a lot of this. Mike, is like your ability to quickly produce a piece of content that's high quality, that might not be perfect for your exact whatever the use case is, even though they can get pretty dang close. Yeah. For anybody who's a copywriter, your skill is technical copywriting or blog posts. It's just about what this you should be excited, because I feel like what this is going to allow marketers to do is just to do so much high quality content that used to take I mean, what do you think? Like one person can act like three people almost.
Yeah. So I mean, when we look at like the timeline or the production timelines that we used to have compared to what they look like now, and some of it's also just changes internally on the way that we do things. Video production. So, coming up with video scripts, coming up with content ideas to actually producing a video, we were probably doing 3 to 4 videos a month for social media, which, it wasn't crazy, but it probably could have been faster.
Better than probably 98% of people out there.
Exactly. Now we've developed an entire new process where we're going to produce 200 videos in a month.
Whew.
And then schedule that content out over 90 days. So the production time is shortened a lot, and then we're able to actually, just focus on scheduling the content, resharing, re-engaging, and that's really where the social media teams come into place. On the SEO side, when it comes to producing like our I'm blanking on the term now, but the guidelines for what we're trying to put into an article, a brief, a blog brief, we're producing those in, we have the topic, the idea, and like telling, ChatGPT or whatever AI tool, produce it in this format. We have it done instantly. We get it out to our writers. We've tripled the production on SEO content we're putting out. So really, when it comes to just shortening timelines of getting things done and getting more out there, it's incredible how much it's changed over the past year. And at the end of the day, like, that's exactly what content marketing is. The more content you put out there, the faster you're going to learn what your customer likes, what they don't like. And if you're able to do it at volume like that, you're shortening the learning curve. And that's where the benefit is for your business.
It's wild. And let me ask you this for these. So you basically are almost, call it 100xing the amount of videos you're putting at. Yeah. You're 3xing content. Are you having to add any new people to do this, or just with the current team?
That's with the current team.
Yeah.
We've added like, I think, one more freelance copywriter for the blog. And we've hired one, I actually found a studio where I live that's producing a lot of the raw content. And then we have another editor that's just doing like some graphic stuff on it for the videos. But like, I'm not hiring full-time people. These are all just freelancers that are kind of contributing to the work we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, and I think like, look, for anyone who's out there who's listening, whether you're, look, you could be a frontline marketer, you could be in marketing operations, you could be a director of marketing, you could be a VP of sales. This type of productivity gains is applicable to anybody. Any of you can use this. Oh, I've been meaning to write those LinkedIn posts. I've been meaning to do this, etc. Again, the ability and I think like the question I want to ask is, how did your team, because this will help me to complete kind of the point, is how did your team think about quality? And because I feel like that is what whenever I talk to marketers or people in sales, the number one first thing that they always say is like, yeah, but how good is it? Or yeah, but it's not quite whatever. And I'm like, look, nothing is, it's not meant to be perfect. Like, how did you and your team think about getting over maybe like that hurdle or that like limiting belief that, yeah, we can do it. I could 100x results or 3x content, but the quality will go down.
Yeah, that's always one of the main concerns or the main objections that we always hear is like, well, why should I do this faster? It's not going to be as good. And the main way that we have to kind of get our team members past that is honestly just push them. They need to get comfortable just doing more. And then once they are comfortable doing more, the quality actually will improve over time. So at first, they'll be like, this is crazy. I can't manage all of this. This is too much. And then once they realize that, oh, they can do it, maybe they could have pushed themselves harder before, maybe they could have achieved better results, it becomes more naturally easier for them to produce a higher quality. It might not be as high quality when they're only doing 4 blogs a month, for example. Sure. But the quality, the drop in quality is not going to be as drastic as they imagine it from their own perspective. So a lot of it's just leaning into what's uncomfortable. A lot of getting them to just try something new. I think that's one of the big challenges. But at the same time, sometimes it's a person within the company. So for example, we've gone through 2 marketing managers this year, mainly because they were not open to AI or not open to adapting and trying new things. And if you have that type of mentality or that person within the company that's not open to testing new ideas, then it's holding you back more than anything. And that's really where you got to make that's so more of a structural change within the company.
That's so spot on. And I think, look, for a lot of teams, I think that's it, Mike. I think what's probably holding a lot of teams back, a lot of marketing teams, is people on the team aren't investing enough time to understanding what's possible.
Yeah.
And therefore are, they've been working the same way to produce content for 5 years, 10 years, however many years. And that's the same thing for CMOs, right? Who are just used to this cycle of, what it means to create content, from ebooks to blogs to social. And I think hopefully by the end of this, you'll realize that this is a tool. This is going to allow you, if you develop this skill as a marketer, or again as a seller too, you are going to be so much. You're going to be in the top 5 to 10%, even if your quality isn't as There might be people who are more domain experts or something at a specific domain that you sell to or market to, but you're going to be so much more productive than 98% of your peers that it's just to me it's kind of a no-brainer. It's like, look, this is not going anywhere. Like, this is how it's going to be. So if you're a marketer, embrace these tools.
Yeah, I mean, especially so two different things there. One, obviously the big piece is learning there, and if someone's not open to learning, they're obviously not they're gonna stick in what they're doing. I mean,
Yeah.
100% makes sense. Obviously, if you're not gonna learn, you're not gonna grow. The organization isn't gonna grow. You're gonna hold them back. You need to move those people out. Another huge benefit this year, over the past year, has been the I don't want to say mainstream, but how AI has become more accessible for everyone, because the amount of knowledge sharing and the amount of collaboration on different ideas and testing different things has increased exponentially as well. So that's another massive benefit for people that are out there learning or that are out there consuming other content. And then to touch back on your other point, yes, you might not have the same experience as another expert in the field. You might not have as much knowledge, but when you're producing that much content, you show up as that much more of an authority, because you're out there putting yourself out there, making yourself vulnerable, showing other people what you know. And just because you don't know as much as, the leading expert in your field, what you know is already exponentially more than everyone else that needs your help. And just by putting that information out there, you're putting out so much value that's going to lead more people inbound towards your business.
Yeah, and you'll see too. It's like, and like again, maybe you sell or marketing to an industry you're not getting up to, or you don't know. Chat GPT is ridiculous at helping you to get up to speed on industries. For those of you who don't know it, the current, the knowledge of Chat GPT stops at 2021 into 2021. But if you enable plugins like Webpilot and others, you can copy and paste links, drop different things, summarize, hey, I found this industry trends. Tell me the top 3 things that are happening in this industry that are relevant to, here's my product page, insert link. The ability to very quickly get up to speed, produce higher quality content. And I agree with you 100%. Like, it's not just going to help you to do more. The quality is going to be there, as well too, because it can just pull together insights. You might have a deadline. Well, if I have the same deadline, but I can quickly aggregate information for somebody who's got to go Google and search around, I'm going to be able to crush that deadline, get it done probably 50 to 100% faster. And then, use that time for even better copywriting, to your point, where it's like, it's not just a more game. You can also, whether it's producing higher quality or producing additional higher quality, blog posts. And how do you, I want to touch on this because it kind of feeds into this. How is this affecting personalization in marketing? Because on the sales side, I literally just heard a stat this morning, which was like 95% of sales emails are automated, or basically automated. And like after the first touch point, it's like between 95 and 100%, which is just insane. And so again, to your point, I wonder why outbound's not working. Like shocking. Outbound's not working. We did a poll. I guess it would have been our Q3 poll, and 83% of teams are missing their outbound numbers, and all these factors play together. But there's a lot of personalization opportunity here, and so for you, Mike, how do you see AI evolving the concept of personalization in marketing?
So, I mean, obviously, there's different ways that you can apply this at a more basic level. This is just one way that we've been using AI internally, is identifying who our ICPs are, or what different types of ICPs are. We have different service offerings, different programs. Each service offering is for a different ICP in a way. And then using AI to identify, what are 100 questions that my ICP for this service might be looking for, or might be asking about this. And then, we're focused on creating the content around that to actually address that. So it is, and that way we're personalizing that way. If you have the internal tech stack and the internal team to really, and even the software, just to have really good qualification from a CRM on who potential leads are, who potential customers are, then you can connect ChatGPT or OpenAI through the API and start actually building customized emails, customized customized ads, whatever it may be, based on the different information you have on the CRM. So if we're talking about customizing email better, using the API to go into your CRM and say like, all right, these people are the executives. This is their company. This is what their main problems are. This is what they've told us before. Let's send them a follow-up. The quality of the contact point becomes that much higher. The ability to do it at scale and at speed becomes that much shorter. And like the personalization side goes wild. So like for us, we don't have that tech stack piece, but like we're working towards that actively to try to figure out how can we connect the OpenAI API to our CRM and then actually start improving our outbound email, because like I said before, outbound email has more or less died. And I ripped on outbound on LinkedIn like a few weeks ago because just the emails I get now are just like insane.
It's terrible.
It's just terrible. And I'm like, did you like look into anything? Do you actually know what I do? Like, how is this relevant to me? And it's just people trying to show numbers. And I think a lot of it is email agencies just trying to hit, certain outbound numbers. The quality's not there.
Look at our click rate. Look at our open rate.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, again, that's a good example of quantity and terrible quality. So being able to do quantity at scale with high quality and high personalization on an outbound email campaign would be a huge game changer for a lot of businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, and I think that there's what I say is like, look, there's just no excuse to not use it. Like there's just, it's there again, and pay the $20 a month. Like a lot of some of the things we're talking about requires the paid version. I was like, how about this? Just don't order DoorDash for lunch once. Like, and it'll be the smartest, like, cooked dinner or whatever that you've ever, made. It's just, there's just so much opportunity in different plugins that can ingest PDF data. And, there's just some wild things that are possible now that I can aggregate. Like one of the ones that we're doing too, is like, hey, here's a link to this company's, press release page, or here's a link to their investor relations page. Here's a link to our product page. Help me to formulate based on the themes that are being mentioned the most, and knowing what our product does, what are the top 2 ways we might be able to best support the company?
That's a good one. I like that. That's a really good one.
Just think about that. You know how much time that would have taken me if I was like, an hour, maybe 2 hours, and I could literally just, all I have to do is copy. I could get it done in 3 minutes, 4 minutes. And the amount of quality outreach that is possible right now for both marketing and sales, I just feel like there's no reason not to. And, for those of you who are following on, we just launched, literally it was today, a whole Notion page. We've got kind of 50 of our top prompts around research and personalization and sales process and training. And there's all kinds of different use cases. So we'll drop a link to that as well for everyone to check out, because, a lot of this is, for the people that don't know, a lot of it's just the quality of prompting that I see this with a lot of content writers, Mike, like they are like, yeah, I tried it. It wasn't that good. And then you go look at like the prompts that they put in. We're like, yeah, you were like, write a piece about this, this, and this. It's like, no, like the more that you feed it, the higher the quality gets, immediately. And maybe talk a little bit about that. Like talk about, maybe you did have some resistance. You've had to turn some people over. How did you train your teams, to get to that level of proficiency? You talked about how it was a process. Like, were there maybe some tips and tricks that you have for people out there? Like, we did it this way, and, it kind of helped us to accelerate the team's internal usage.
Yeah. I think we mentioned it, we touched on it before, is like education. And I think the concept of implementing AI is still overwhelming to a lot of people.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think starting slowly is usually the best way to get them on board with something. So, for example, the way that we did it was, the first way that we did it was, we had developed a series of questions for our ICP that we were going to create content around, like I kind of talked about before. We showed them the types of questions, the amount of time it took, and we said, hey, like this was a great time saver. We produced some of the content answering those questions, and we started getting positive feedback immediately. Well, not immediately, but in 1 to 2 weeks, we started getting positive feedback on the content we were putting out there. From that, we were able to show them and be like, hey, like, look, like we used AI for this. This got the result. This actually works. how can you use it from your side? Or like, what are ways you can think you think you might be able to implement it on your aspect of the marketing
I
funnel?
love that.
And I think once you start, instead of trying to force something on someone, when
Exactly.
someone is forced to
Yes.
accept it a little bit more and think more about how it makes their job better, they're more open to trying it. And in general, I mean, I think this is true across business in general. When you make it feel like they are buying into the idea versus it's being forced on them, you get way better results.
100%. Yeah, that's any leader listening, whether it's AI or anything different or new, that is always the approach.
Yeah.
I've made the mistake many times of me being the excited one, and it's just so obvious, like that this should be helpful, and um, adoption just taking longer than it probably could have if I was a little more thoughtful or smart about how I took it to the team. So let's talk maybe again. We're talking about all these different use cases for AI. I mean, just the numbers and volumes you're talking about is just it's wild in terms of like just how much more productive, like you said, with similar team, similar costs. Um, out AI is a big part of this. Obviously, I think it's it could be the biggest trend for organizations and as an agency, obviously, and for me as a consultancy, and you're a consultancy. We've got to stay at the forefront of this. So we're naturally maybe a little bit more ahead than some. What are maybe the top 2 or 3 trends in general? And it could be around AI. Mike, you get a chance to talk to a lot of organizations about their go-to-market strategy. You've obviously built it out for your organization very successfully, and many organizations in the past. What are some of the other trends or complementary trends that you feel like people should be aware of around, whether it's technology or ways people are cutting through or other, call it marketing strategies?
I would say, I mean, we've touched on it briefly. I mean, the first one is obviously shifting more towards an inbound strategy versus an outbound strategy. I mean, it's more sustainable in the long term. It has a ton of different benefits there. That's one thing that is a lot more possible or a lot more scalable with AI. I think another trend that's coming, and we're still not leveraging this enough from the work we do. So, for example, we manage advertising for brands on Amazon. So it's using both the Amazon native platform and the DSP, the programmatic side. So the ability for us to create and test different creatives at scale is going to be massively, and analyze the data. Obviously, that's the most important aspect. But to do all of that at scale is going to be able to improve our results on the advertising to a whole different level. And those are like 2 of the biggest things that we're focused on as an agency. Apart from that, like I've already talked about the ability of doing content production at scale. That's going to be another big factor for a lot of brands. Is like if you can't implement this, I talk about brands because this is who I work with. But if you can't implement this within your company to put out enough content on TikTok, on Instagram, on social media, on whatever social media platform, like TikTok, especially for selling products, is phenomenal. So if you're not able to be there, get in front of the people with the right content at scale and do it consistently, you're falling behind everybody else. So I think those are the trends that most companies need to pay attention to, going forward.
Yeah, I think it's so spot on. Again, like the idea of, again, it shouldn't be used. What both the examples that you gave, I think what's really important, and I hope people are hearing, what I feel like happened in the kind of the first wave of marketing and sales technology, call it from like the late 2010s until, let's say like like that 10-year period from like 2009 to 2019, or even like to 2022 or 2023, is that what we kind of got in our head, that technology was for automating things. Technology was for tracking everything. Technology was for like more and more tactical things. You know what I mean? Like the repetitive, and AI, generative AI in particular will help with repetitive things. That is a major use case.
Yeah.
But a lot of what you talked about, Mike, is like this new knowledge work that's going to need to be done. And for anybody who's listening, AI is coming for a lot of white collar jobs, because if the skill set that you learned was how to do things that were automated, which is what I think a lot of people learned with the last, kind of the rise of technology in marketing and sales, what this work is actually allowing you to be more creative and working in a different, higher quality way, that you're able to produce more, but you're able to produce more with a higher quality. And then the human element really becomes the nuance, the touch, the creativity on how to spin a certain thing. And so again, to Mike's point, like if you are not thinking about how you need to adapt the way you work, I just, again, I like we talked about it a few times here. I just think it's going to be tough to be really productive in the future. And guess what? The level of what being productive means is now here.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly. It's going to keep increasing. I 100% agree with that. I think when we look at least from my perspective, in the foreseeable future, and I say foreseeable for like at least the next 5 years, there's no way AI is ever going to be able to replicate the creativity of an individual. An individual is always going to have unique ideas based on what their experiences are, based on what they're seeing, based on what they're hearing that naturally can't grasp. AI can be asked to produce based on the way that we explain things, and that's the aspect of creativity we're talking about there. And from there, AI can run with it. But I think if you're in a role that is either relationship based, so sales, relationship management, or creative based on like the marketing side or even the design side, you're always going to have an opportunity or a job. It's just a matter of figuring out how to use these tools to complement the job you're already doing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, embracing them because they're going to be here. And if you don't know how to use them, and your other counterparts do, you can sit there and think like, well, they didn't do it. They're 100% on their own. Like, there's no reward. There's no reward you get at the end of the day when you're like, but I did this 100% from scratch. Right? There's no medals that are given out for that, just so everybody knows. So as we start to wrap up here, Mike, I had a question on here that the team pulled together. We've had kind of an IP lawyer who's really well versed. Keegan Caldwell talked a little bit about AI and ownership, and you're on the marketing side. How are you guys thinking about that? Content ownership. Even like ethical concerns about putting out content. Like, how are you all, whenever when you advise these companies or take it over for them, these brands, and something like that comes up, how do you tackle that? How do you tackle the kind of ownership and I don't call it ethic. I don't ethical, or call it, moral, ethical implications of a person not writing it.
Yeah, when we go down that road, it feels very philosophical. It feels like we're talking about like
I know, right?
the allegory in the
That's what
cave
keeps
with Plato
popping
and
up,
stuff.
but it's not that serious, y'all. It's SEO.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at the end of the day, every piece of content that exists is just a riff on another piece of content. There's nothing that exists naturally within its own. And
yes,
everyone has their own change, their own spin. They do things a certain way. They produce a certain way, like whatever. I think in general, as long as you are not blatantly copying an image that you see somewhere else, like if it's the exact same image in two different places, that's obviously not, I would say not ethical, but like it's just, being lazy. And I think as long as you are using whatever you're seeing working out there and you're riffing on it in your own way that creates a new variation of it, it's fine. And I think that's really where a lot of people get confused about it. I mean, like nothing exists on its own. Nothing is a brand new idea. Everything is just an iteration of another idea that's already out there.
Man, I love that. I say that all the time. Same thing with like sales and messaging and scripting. It's like, why reinvent the wheel? Like, somebody has already tackled all these problems. They've had talk tracks. Like, just go borrow what they said and just do that, and iterate on it. Right. There's no different than when you read a book and then you put that book into action and you iterate on it. Did you rip off the book? I heard Mike explain something really well, and I repurpose it for another conversation. There's no plagiarism. And OpenAI, just so everyone is aware, has come out and said, we do not own your specific output. So get over it is my advice as well too, because if that's your excuse for not getting up to speed, it's a pretty bad one. So Mike, this has been awesome, man. Honestly, like I've sat here, I was taking some notes about some of the ways that you're thinking about content, getting the team up to speed. Again, how you're thinking about how what I like too is like you gave a kind of a tactical roadmap for how companies, because a lot of companies are like, man, what do you mean? Like, we want to get off outbound, and not get off it completely, but maybe wean off of it a little bit. And I think you gave some tactical strategies, again, whether it's about how to produce 100x more videos, produce more content, get it out there, make it more relevant to the buyers. There's going to be people out there in your sector, everybody listening, that know what Mike knows, or they maybe they hire him, and they're going to be creating that SEO around this stuff. They're going to know how to start to pump out tens, hundreds of pieces of content around this kind of mid to long tail keyword. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, why aren't we getting more inbound leads? Right? It's because these other organizations figured it out. They're like, look, we can put out really good quality content at scale quickly around key topics and niche topics that will drive more inbound business for us. And so, Mike, this is fantastic, man. As we wrap up, where can people find you?
Yeah, Jake, I mean, I really enjoyed speaking with you as well. The best way to get in touch with me is at my email directly, mike@amzadvisors.com. You can also reach me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Those are 2 other platforms I use. So if you have any questions about how you can start building a marketing system with this, I'm always glad to chat about that. Or anything else you need help with, just shoot me a message.
Love it. And we'll put the links in the show notes as well, too. So thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another great episode here. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, if I'm sitting here taking notes, I hope to God all of you are as well, too. You're listening to this. It's tough to listen to me at 1.5 speed, but hopefully if you're listening to this, you took some time, opened up Evernote and, wrote down this little mini master's class Mike just laid down. So thanks again, Mike. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.